The other 12-tone piece that we are going to look at in some detail is this art song by Anton Webern, Wie bin ich froh, and How Happy I Am. And before we look at it together, I strongly encourage you to listen to it. It's not very long, and so don't go ahead and pause or stop this video, listen to the recording I sent, listen to it twice, and then we'll keep going. All right, so now you've listened to it, and you're probably like, Dr. Johnson, what the hell was that? That made no sense. That was the weirdest, craziest shit I've ever heard. And the answer is, we're just getting warmed up, because Webern and some other composers, this was like their new thing. And we're going to talk about that. So let's take a look, and before we get into the 12-tone, let's talk about this composition from a different perspective. So we're on page 182 and 183, and there's a nice translation for you. So this is actually a piece by Webern from his song set, Drei Lieder, Opus 25. Once it gets into the Opus 20s, this is Webern's more mature and later 12-tone compositions. Now, you're probably thinking, like, I heard no melody in here, it just sounded like random notes, and like I could have had my cat like playing randomly and it would have sounded similar. I'm going to tell you that there is enormous control and enormous relationship between all these different aspects of the music. And that's what we're going to find out about the composer Webern, is every single detail in his music relates to everything else in the music. There is an enormous sort of interweaving of complexity in all his ideas, and that's what we're going to look at. Now, you first might have noticed, as you were listening to it, that it does have these time signatures, 3/4 and 4/4, but when you were listening, I don't think you probably ever felt like it was in 3/4 or 4/4. When I listen, and also it has all these little retardandos, tempos, it's like fluctuating. To me, this music sounds ametric. It does not sound like it's in a time. It's hard, you cannot hear a pulse with it. It switches between triplets, it has syncopation, it has these, changing meters to kind of give us a sense, but we don't really hear the meters. So there's an ametric quality. The next thing is that the music is very, very disjunct. The melody itself, the notes themselves jump. There is very, very little stepwise motion. Keeping in mind that traditional music has lots of stepwise motion and some leaps, right? We hear steps, we hear a few leaps, steps, some leaps. This music has very few steps. And you'll notice that when he does do the leaps, he does leaps on intervals like the major 7. Or they might even be augmented intervals, right? We see a lot of leaps that are going to make it so we never have a chance to hear the tonal center. Which there is none, right, because he's using 12-tone. But this disjunct motion makes it very, very, it makes it much more inaccessible, right? This is not accessible music. This is more inaccessible music to listen to because of this disjunct motion. So the music itself is ametric, it seems disjunct. We definitely don't get a sense of like melody and support the way that we did in the Schoenberg. Things just kind of seem out there, like if we were looking out at the stars, we can like try to grab a few stars and hold on to them, but then they get away. I feel like the same about these notes. Anytime a note comes in, it feels like if we try to hold on to it, it's already gone. Now, let's look at the details though. You'll notice that there are a lot of ideas that come back. So take a look at this. Triplet 16th, F sharp, F natural, D. And I'm hoping you're thinking like, oh, Dr. Johnson, that's a 0, 1, 4. And notice that it has the major 7th interval. Now take a look at this later. Same triplet with the major 7th. Same idea. You'll also notice that the triplet has got a slur and a forte. Look at this one, a slur and a forte. Jump down here, triplet, major 7th, slur, forte, 0, 1, 4. Look at this one, major 7th, this is a treble clef, slur, forte, 0, 1, 4. All of the ideas that you'll find are sort of, he's got a long complex structure, and he actually came up with a 12-tone system to be able to make these relationships all the way through the music. Find a few more. What about the 2 staccato 8th notes? The doom doom. Sometimes it comes back with tenutos. Dum dum. Here it comes back with staccatos. Dum dum. And we can see it at the very bottom of the page, right here, with the tenutos. Dum dum. When it has, so you, again, like you'll see that these ideas. Oh, here's some with the staccatos. And this one has the sforzando like it did at the beginning, right? You see the sforzando here, and then there's the sforzando there. So you can see how these ideas relate to each other. Here's another idea. The chord, the quarter note chord, piano, tenuto. Quarter note, 4-note chord, piano, tenuto. Here it comes back. Quarter note, 4-note chord, piano, tenuto. You'll also notice that it has major 7th in the left hand, major 7th in the right hand. Major 7th in the left hand. This one's major 6, so we cheated. But take a look here. Quarter note chord, piano, tenuto. This one's a little different. Quarter note chord, forte. He's doing something, but it's, notice it still has the major 7ths. In Webern's later music, every detail has a significance and relates to everything else. He's thinking in a very structural and and there's a lot of hyper control. He really has every single idea of what's going on in the music thought out and related to others. Now, let's get to the 12-tone. So, where should we start looking for the 12-tone row? If we start here, that's a great idea, except when we get to this chord, we have no idea which one of these notes is first. Does it go top down? Does it go bottom up? That kind of makes it tricky. What about the voice part? We have a G, an E, D sharp, F sharp, C sharp, F, D, B, E flat, C, A, G sharp. Do we have 12 different pitches? We'll start with G, and then the next one up would be A flat or G sharp. There's G sharp at the end. The next one up would be A, and A's right here. Then B flat, B natural, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, and back to G. Yep, there's our row. Let's call this P0. So we've got a nice start. Now that we have this row, we're going to need to figure out the rest of the matrix, which is a real pain in the butt. Unless you Google matrix calculator on musictheory.net and then we plug it in right here. All right, and I'll make the screen bigger. So there's our row, and once you've got this row, it'll be a lot easier to do. Well, let's go ahead and get cracking. Let's see if we can figure out what some of the others are. And hold on. Okay, we're looking for a row that starts F sharp, F, D, and remember that's a treble clef, E. F sharp, F, D, E. F sharp, F, D, E. Oh, that looks like RI 0. F sharp, F, D, E, and then D sharp, C sharp, A, D sharp, C, A, C sharp. That's E flat, so that's D sharp, C, A, C sharp, C, A, C sharp, G sharp. 10, 11, 12 is B, B flat, G. B, B flat, G. And G, I guess is right there. I'm actually going to tell you that Schoenberg does one cheat thing. He doesn't actually give us the G, he puts it up there. Or, excuse me, Webern. Webern does one cheat thing. There is his RI 0. And if we take a look at this, it looks like this also starts with AP 0. Another P0 right there. All right, we've already found 3 rows. Let's keep going with this piano part. So we need something that starts with F sharp and then has these. You know what? This RI 0, sorry. So we're starting here with F sharp, and notice that RI 0 starts with F sharp, F, D, F sharp, F, D. I think this is a safe RI 0. And then E, E flat. And then C, A, C sharp, C, A, C sharp, G sharp, B, B flat, and G. And if we were to keep going, we would find that the singer gets another P0 starting here, and it eventually works its way there, and then over here, and then we have one, ooh, this one starts G, E flat. This one looks like I0. So I need another color. G, B flat, then B, G sharp, C sharp, A, B, G sharp, C sharp, A, C, D sharp, right? Oh, you can't see anything I'm writing because I'm a fat teacher. Let's try that again. Okay, so we'll talk more about some of the differences between Schoenberg and Webern when we do our super duper short how to study for the exam video. But my hope is that you can better see, like, oh yeah, you're just looking for all 12 different notes. That's how you identify a row. You can see very much that Schoenberg and Webern had different ways of thinking about their using of the row. Webern does much less cheating, right? He doesn't like double dip on his rows. His rows are pretty linear, and they don't usually share notes. Schoenberg, his does, that kind of thing. Thank you so much.